We're unpacking one of the most fascinating and honestly totally counterintuitive cultural shifts happening right now. For the last few years, artificial intelligence has basically been framed as this ultimate, inevitable future. It's the biggest tech trend of the decade, right? But if you look closely at recent data and cultural commentary, there's a massive plot twist unfolding. The very people you'd expect to be leading the charge, Gen Z, young professionals, or digital natives, they are actively pushing back against it. So today we're going to explore the sources documenting this rejection and unpack exactly why the newest generation is flat out saying no to the newest technology.
Okay, let's dive into this right at the ground level with a visceral, real-world anecdote that perfectly captures this shift. Picture a recent college graduation ceremony. This is a moment of celebration, you're looking toward the future, the whole shebang. Well, the administration decided it'd be a great idea to implement an AI system to read the graduates' names as they walked across the stage. The result? Total disaster. Whenever AI was mentioned or utilized, it was met with loud groans and boos from the audience. We're not talking about a polite dismissal here. It was an active, vocal rejection from the student body.
Which brings us to the core mystery we really need to unravel. Why are young digital natives rejecting AI? Historically, young people are the early adopters. They're the ones dragging older generations into the digital age, thanks social media, smartphones, all of that. So why is this specific demographic suddenly so overtly hostile to this specific technological advancement? To understand this, we have to look at the massive disconnect between what leadership is pushing and what young people are actually experiencing on a daily basis.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast happening in real time. From the top down, we have authority figures across the country standing at podiums, urging students to embrace AI to succeed in the modern world. But on the ground level, we have an entirely different reality. Students are reacting with loud groans and boos. And this wasn't just some isolated incident either. The push from the top is entirely out of sync with the sentiment at the bottom. Young adults are flatly rejecting this narrative, and as our sources indicate, their reasons are deeply rooted in their everyday reality.
Section 1. Unsettling reasons for rejection. Let's methodically trace the clues behind this cultural mystery, because the reasons driving this backlash are both highly justified and, honestly, pretty unsettling. And this brilliantly illustrates the surrounding cultural commentary, proving that the graduation booing isn't just an anomaly. It's part of a massive systemic shift in sentiment. The sources we're analyzing today suggest these aren't just petty complaints. We've aggregated the backlash into three main pillars. In column 1, we've got economic concerns, this growing fear among young people that they're inheriting a massive AI bubble. Over in column 2, labor concerns. There's a real irony here that a technology meant to save money is somehow becoming more expensive than the workers it actually replaces. And finally, in column 3, quality concerns. Everyday users are experiencing an incompetence epidemic, where basic tools like search engines are literally getting worse.
Section 2. Signs of an AI bubble. Let's slow things down for a second to objectively explain the shifting economic reality of the tech landscape and these growing fears of a popping bubble.
For a long time, the narrative was nothing but blind optimism and endless investment. But look at how rapidly this timeline of public sentiment has deteriorated. Just 9 months ago, the prominent tech conversations were focused on singular AI disasters, isolated instances where the tech failed humorously or maybe a bit dangerously. But move forward to just 1 month ago, and the cultural commentary shifted to a much broader fatigue, highlighted by content literally titled, "Nobody actually wants AI anymore." And then look at the data from just a day ago. Mainstream financial commentary is flooded with urgent warnings saying, "The AI bubble, we need to talk." Blind optimism dissolved into serious financial doubt in practically no time at all.
A major part of this financial doubt comes down to simple infrastructure mechanics. Tokens are getting too expensive. To be clear, we aren't taking sides here, but purely from a financial reporting standpoint, the raw materials of AI processing, these computational tokens, are skyrocketing in cost. The literal mechanics of running these massive artificial intelligence models are simply becoming economically unviable for the companies sustaining them.
Section 3. Tech hype versus reality. Let's move to and see how this builds as we pivot from high-level economics back to the everyday user experience that's really fueling this youth backlash.
High-level economics and expensive server costs are one thing, but how does that translate to the everyday user? How does an expensive computing token turn into a young person booing at a graduation ceremony? Well, it comes down to a failure to deliver on foundational promises. This quote from recent economic media discourse really hits the nail on the head, how AI became more expensive than the workers it replaced. Think about the brutal irony here. Young professionals are entering a job market threatened with what's being called layoff payback. They're told AI will take their jobs because it's cheaper and more efficient. Yet the reality unfolding in the corporate world is that integrating, fixing, and running the supposed labor-saving tech is failing to actually save money. Young workers see this contradiction clear as day. And the frustration really compounds when you look at the day-to-day quality of these tools. Let's rapid-fire through these real-world complaints dominating the digital space right now. First, Google just ruined search. The core utility of the internet is becoming harder to use because AI summaries are cluttering results with total inaccuracies. Second, the incompetence epidemic. Users are finding that delegating tasks to AI often requires more time to fix the AI's mistakes than it would have taken to just do the task manually in the first place. And third, Microsoft admits it was wrong. Even the tech giants are backtracking on certain AI implementations. When you connect these systemic, everyday failures, it makes perfect sense why those students were groaning. The product simply isn't working as advertised for them.
So, the crucial point is summarized by this very small, very alarming number 2. Recent statements from Yann LeCun, one of the absolute foundational figures in artificial intelligence, have suggested that large language models, the very tech powering this current boom, might only have 2 years left before they hit a definitive wall in their capabilities. This isn't just user fatigue, folks. This is a prominent expert warning that the technology itself might be approaching a dead end much faster than anyone anticipated.
Section 4. The Future of AI. Let's synthesize these economic realities with the cultural pushback, grounding these high-level theories back in raw human emotion.
We've looked at the massive server costs, the economic bubble warnings, the degradation of daily tech tools, and the expert skepticism. Now let's pull it all together. This sentiment, nobody actually wants AI anymore, perfectly closes the loop on our initial mystery. When we think back to that graduation anecdote at the beginning of our explainer, we can see it with total clarity now. The visceral boos from the students, they weren't just a prank. They were a symptom of a society, specifically a younger, hyper-online generation, waking up. They are navigating an incompetence epidemic, they're watching the tools they grew up with degrade in quality, and they are flatly rejecting the mandate to embrace a system that feels fundamentally broken.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to take away from today's explainer. Based on the economic warnings, the exorbitant costs, and the vocal rejection from the next generation of workers, is AI a passing tech bubble about to burst, or is it a permanent, fundamentally flawed fixture that society is going to be forced to live with? It's a massive question, and how it gets answered in the coming months will absolutely dictate the future of our digital world. Thanks for hanging out with us, and keep questioning the narrative.